Husband has bad breath, won't do anything about it. I've come to Reddit for some help. Advice is I really don't know what to do and it's a very sensitive subject, so I don't want to speak to family, friends about it. My F. 33, husband, M. 36, has very poor oral hygiene. He doesn't brush his teeth every day and I never realized this until we lived together. We've been together for a long time and got married a few years ago. The bad breath problem has been going on for well over a year now. I spoke with him about it very sensitively when it was first noticed, as it's not a nice thing to be told, and he made an effort to brush more but still only a maximum of once a day. I tried to remind him and encourage him to brush more as he says he forgets a lot, and will go a couple of days without brushing, but then he started to get angry with me for keep bringing it up. A year later and it's worse than ever. I literally can smell his breath if I walk into a room he's been sat in with the door closed. He breathes in my face when he's sleeping and the smell wakes me up. I have to crack the window in the car because I can't stand the smell. That's how bad it is. I have tried so many times to talk to him about it but he just gets angry with me. We ended up having an argument about it and he said I hardly kiss him anymore and we are never intimate, which is true, but I explained that his poor hygiene and bad breath are the reason for that. I feel awful but I told him he needs to go to the dentist or I'm not sure I can kiss him again and he said that's my choice and I'll be the reason we won't kiss anymore and it's nothing to do with him. We didn't speak for a week after that and then he eventually agreed to go to the dentist and booked an appointment. The dentist told him he has gingivitis and he needs to brush twice a day, floss and use mouthwash, so we brought everything they recommended for him to sort it. This was about 4 months ago and he still has the same unfinished bottle of mouthwash. He still doesn't brush every day and has never brushed twice a day. He also doesn't floss. I've tried to remind him again and ask him how it's going but again he just gets angry with me. He has made more of an effort but his breath is still horrendous, which makes me think it could be something else and he should see a doctor just in case. When I mentioned this he point blank refused to see a doctor and told me he's sick of trying to please me and I'm too hard to please. I was very upset at this point and said it's not about pleasing me, it's about good hygiene and making sure nothing else is going on, which he doesn't seem to understand. We then got into a bad argument and we both said some pretty shitty things. This has happened multiple times now and I genuinely don't know where to go from here. I love him but his bad breath and poor hygiene really puts me off and his attitude and the way he's behaving makes me dislike him. He is in his mid-30s and I feel like he's a child I'm looking after sometimes. I totally get that being told you have bad breath isn't nice, but if someone told me that I would do everything I could to sort it. I just don't understand why he's being like this and I just don't know what to do. We have other problems as well but this is the biggest issue currently. Am I overreacting? Is this a reason to leave someone? Please let me know your thoughts, help, advice. Thank you. Too long did not read. My husband has bad breath and won't do anything about it after we've fallen out multiple times and lost nearly all our intimacy. Blames me for it. Help needed. You aren't overreacting. His unwillingness to work on the problems is why you are leaving him. If it's just gingivitis and no rotting teeth, and he does brush sometimes. I feel like it has something to do with his health. Diabetes, stomach issues, etc. He has made more of an effort but his breath is still horrendous, which makes me think it could be something else and he should see a doctor just in case. His breath smelled like ass before he went to the dentist. He got a diagnosis, failed to do the follow-up care, and therefore his breath still smells like ass. Sounds pretty cut and dry to me. Either way, if you end it, you and I both know this is about a lot more than bad breath. If he refuses to take responsibility for his part in this marriage failing, then add it to the list of good reasons why you left him. Floss is also really important for breath as trapped particles will smell. I feel your pain as this would gross me out too and be a big deal. Unfortunate part is you can't change him, he's gotta do it. Hope it gets sorted. Oral probiotics work wonders. It's not just brushing his teeth, rinsing his mouth with mouthwash and also flossing. He needs to buy a tongue scraper and scrape his tongue, too. Often people who do everything right when it comes to oral hygiene, meaning they brush their teeth twice a day, use mouthwash and floss, sometimes have bad breath. And that's because they don't realize they should be cleaning, scraping their tongue. You are an adult looking for an adult relationship, not someone who is looking to parent a fully grown adult. I don't blame you for leaving him if you do. At all. You have put up with more than I would. Tongue scrapers are great. Not sure how you can convince him, but try and get him to use a medical grade tongue scraper. They're only a few bucks and take around 10-15 seconds to use each time. I never really took good care of my teeth. Guess who just spent thousands of dollars fixing them? Does he want to be that guy too? Most of this is preventable. This doesn't sound like just a gum disease, bad oral hygiene problem. There's a syndrome, disease that I of course cannot remember the name of, where the bad breath originates from further back in the throat. I would have him see an ent doctor. That's absolutely gross, and grounds for ending the relationship in my opinion. His breath is so bad you can't even kiss him, enough said. Either he fixes his hygiene or you leave him. Also him saying you're too hard to please is the lamest thing ever. He need to grow up and act like an adult. EW. That's so disgusting. Dump him, it's only gonna get worse from here. He might have tonsil stones. Wanting a grown adult to take care their teeth isn't being hard to please. This is one of the most ridiculous things I've heard lol. I don't think you are overreacting at all. Although you have every right to leave based on what you've written. If you do want to stay. Do you think he would consider a compromise of just using a mouthwash daily? Then perhaps you can move to brushing. Would chewing gum also help? There has to be some kind of a compromise. It seems like an easy issue to fix and I am surprised that he is refusing to brush his teeth, use a mouthwash. This guy needs to get it together. I get that the comment section is supposed to be a hug box, but if you tell people, I divorced my husband because he didn't brush twice a day for 4 months and I gave up loudly crying, they're not going to take you seriously. It's more than bad breath. It's that you have to mother him and he refuses to take care of himself or acknowledge that. Babes, this is unacceptable. Basic personal hygiene is non-negotiable. Does he not wipe his ass when he takes a dump too? You're asking him to brush his teeth and that makes you too hard to please. Does he have other hygiene issues as well? Without being sexist, I've seen multiple similar threads now on Reddit and it's always the guy point blank refusing to take care of personal hygiene. This is something far more deep-rooted than being lazy. Has the dentist explained to him he is at risk of losing his teeth and developing heart problems? You are absolutely not being unreasonable. Can you live with bad breath the rest of your life? Doesn't he want you to stay? My partner asked once why I didn't want to have sex and I said it was because he hadn't showered, shaved, cleaned his teeth or washed his hands, had a cigarette and or was drunk. Ooh said he and got up and did all the things. Now he's a non-smoker too, UP. This would be a deal breaker for me. He is so unwilling to change, his mouth hygiene is terrible, and he smells so bad that you can smell it after he leaves the room. That's disgusting. If he's not willing to take some very basic steps to improve it, then you should leave without even a little bit of guilt. Has he given you any actual reasons as to why he doesn't care that his mouth smells like a sewer? Does he not care if all of his teeth fall out? Tell him to brush his tongue. Leave trial-size bottles of mouthwash all over the place. I don't think you're overreacting. It's not just the bad breath, it's his complete unwillingness to do the bare minimum for you. The fact that he's getting angry, turning it back on you and claiming it's your fault you don't kiss is also very worrying. This man is prioritizing not picking up a toothbrush twice a day over his own wife. Considering you've already tried everything and even have a dentist on your side, I would suggest telling him this is a potentially relationship-ending issue. If he still doesn't care enough to act, and stick to it, without nagging, you have your answer. Lack of brushing alone probably isn't the main culprit. Maybe get him a tongue scraper. Also, you might try those little mini disposable toothbrush pick things. Not as good as brushing, but he might be more inclined to use them since he can do it while watching TV or driving to work. Not only is poor hygiene disgusting, but it's a health issue. He is demonstrating that he doesn't care enough to take care of himself so that he can live a long, healthy life with you. Literally everyone brushes their teeth. Run. How would he feel if you stopped bathroom hygiene? He would be repulsed. You are not wrong. I am sorry, this should be basic but might be something deeper like he is scared to go to the dentist. I told my man I would stop all blow jobbing until he fixed his breath. It worked. Get him some spearmint gum. You aren't leaving him because of the breath. You're leaving him because you have expressed a serious hygiene problem he has that he refuses to address and doesn't even care about his own teeth or you enough to brush his teeth like a normal human being. Imagine a world where you don't have to hold your nose and stop breathing whenever you're in a room with him, and don't have to reject intimacy with him for the 10th time because of his foul breath that is easily addressable. Dental hygienist here, sounds more like periodontitis. That smells horrible when someone has a full-blown case. It requires a deep cleaning, scaling and root planing. Also requires visits every 3 months to the dentist. If he doesn't have perio disease, I'm wondering, does he smoke cigarettes or pot? Smokers get pretty bad breath, and mixed with not brushing is pretty gross. Nagging him seemed to be working. I don't know why people think it's okay to be so flippant about brushing and then think someone would want to kiss that mouth. Leave him and let him be a smelly Grinch. How gross. Lol, I'd be so petty and work out and get real sweaty and stinky and just not wash my vag for days and then ask him to eat me out, and when he says it smells too bad just be like, exactly. Does he shower every day? I have a difficult time brushing, flossing and mouthwash too. I'll sit down in the shower and do the whole routine. Is he dealing depression or something? Or is it just some bad habit he's always had? Pretty weird he won't even take care of his health for himself. I agree all types of hygiene is very important. But I have also heard of some people that with high-functioning autism are unable to comfortably brush their teeth. And I do believe for some people that could be a reason, and in that case they would have to admit it and get help. One of my exes was terrible at hygiene. It bothered me, but I kept it to myself because in my mind you love someone for who they are and accept their lifestyle. Now I'm married to a man who takes hygiene seriously and I'm glad my ex is someone else's issue. You're not hard to please. He's unreasonable. It's literally the easiest thing to just brush before bed. What? It could also be a medical issue of some sort on top of the terrible hygiene, but ultimately the fact that he is making this into an issue at all is, well, I'm sorry. Maybe a third party could talk some sense into him. An easy way to go about this could be a doctor's visit, or maybe more effective could be a couples therapy session. Maybe both. The doc can give the medical side, and the therapist can indicate how childish he really is being. In the end, his way of approaching this specific issue suggests he's probably falling down in other areas too. You may be at a crossroads. Continue forward trying to do things that will spur your husband to both come to his senses and also take care of basic hygiene, or well, cut your losses. I had an employee like that. The smell from his mouth was horrible and it eventually led to his termination. A great employee, but it was causing so many issues in the office that after a couple of years of trying to discuss this with him, I finally bit the bullet and terminated him. I could not imagine having to life with that stank. DM, I'll let you know. He doesn't care. If he used a tongue scraper, floss, brush, mouthwash and healthy diet, the breath would be fine. How did you marry someone that doesn't brush their teeth? This is insanity. Maybe you have to say your hygiene neglect is a huge turn off. You neglecting basic oral care and basic washing is now a problem in the relationship where I am questioning if this is what I want for another year, 2 years. Your lack of priorities for your health is not working for me. Your inability as an adult to see there is a problem and then ignore it has to change. Because you either care or you don't. Right now you're saying you don't care. I love you, but if you don't love yourself then we are at a stop sign. This is something I've struggled with. Getting treatment for my ADHD has fixed the issue. Has he ever been tested for ADHD? Maybe downloading a habit tracker with reminders to brush, floss and mouthwash twice a day would help him. You can't force him to do this, but if he cares about you I'd think he's prioritize it. Gross. If my wife's breath was so bad I could smell it across the room and she refused to address it, and even got mad at me for bringing it up, I would be gone. When I mentioned this he point blank refused to see a doctor and told me he's sick of trying to please me and I'm too hard to please. This is the kicker. Asking your spouse to practice basic hygiene is not asking much. I'm surprised it hasn't been addressed in the workplace, either, if it's that bad. Dump the mofo already. I need to start brushing my teeth regularly.